All right, let's get down to business. Real quick for everyone watching, we got Steve here. We've talked, we know each other, we're good friends, and he has a Twitch channel where he's mostly streaming League of Legends, but I think there's also a lot of other games you're doing. But I would say your Twitch stream is very focused around the community that you've built, which feels like a very strong, closely knit community. But you come to me to really talk about YouTube and figuring out how to um, extend your reach onto there to pretty much grow your Twitch stream, right? Did I get that intro pretty well?
Yeah, that's very spot on.
Cool.
It,
Also,
yeah,
some more
yep.
context is you don't work in esports, you don't work in gaming, you do streaming like on top of your full time like professional experience, right? Outside of anything related to streaming.
Yeah, correct. I don't have any like esports or like gaming related experience other than the streaming piece.
Let's figure things out. So, one, I want to mention that with Twitch, I've been digesting a lot of content, so I'm just gonna be regurgitating some stuff. One person I listen to a lot is Devin Nash. Do you know who he is?
I'm not familiar, but I heard you mention him earlier when you were
Yeah.
talking to a friend about his resume.
So he's a CMO of Nerd Fusion, which is a agency company that works with a lot of streamers. But previously, he was also he was part owner of CLG, and he was part of the selling to Madison Square Garden. So he made his big chunk of change there. He's also done some other businesses. Excuse me. But right now or the last like 7 years, I would say, he's been trying to position himself on Twitch as the guy that like the Twitch guru, the guy that knows everything about Twitch, business stuff, right? So he's been streaming pretty much 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, after he's done with work, or like, yeah, when he's done with work, and he does a lot of these talks. Then I mostly go through his Twitch and watch the VODs because he doesn't upload fast enough onto YouTube. And a lot of the stuff he doesn't upload onto YouTube. So I just kind of look at the title, skim through it, and then figure out like what I like about his stuff, what I want to hear. But he basically says that Twitch is not a discoverability platform. There's no way to get discovered on Twitch without using outside social media, right? And I'm probably sure you've experienced that a little bit too.
Yeah, I
Um,
can agree with that wholeheartedly.
yeah, and
100%. Yeah,
it's
the algorithm, there is literally like really there is algorithm, but it's not very good compared to other social media platforms to discover anybody on the platform. So yeah, I hear you.
yeah, and like he's actually really worried about Twitch because they're it sounds like their leadership doesn't make moves to improve that. And they lost the market share to Facebook and YouTube, which isn't a big number, but it's a number, and it's kind of concerning, especially when those numbers are like big players like Facebook and YouTube, where they're going to take over the world too, with Amazon. So while you have YouTube on the other hand, that is an amazing discoverability platform. Like almost anyone can make it if they have good content, or like content just really, really matters, and you eventually get discovered. Um, but he talks about this a lot. So I think it's really good that you are looking into YouTube and maybe other stuff too to get your content. And I would check out I'm trying to think if there's like a really good video you need to watch from his YouTube channel, which there are probably a lot. And maybe if you just scroll through his thumbnails, you'll just find one that like really fits what you're thinking, or your like hits the problems that you're having too about
Yeah,
Twitch.
I was looking at it right now as you were telling me. It's definitely some homework I need to do here for
Yeah.
sure.
And there's not a shortage of content. A lot of his stuff is like really long. So, really good stuff. Yeah, especially if you're like listening to podcasts in the background, like having one of these videos open on a second, like just like listening to it is gonna help. Um, yeah, I'll look into a lot. What I really like is like his case studies, like where he'll do one-on-ones with people. Like he'll talk with Amaranth, or he'll talk with Alinity, or he'll talk with Ludwig and like other big streamers and YouTubers, and they'll just talk about like their problems or what they're and Devin's thoughts about like how they can be growing like their empire even bigger. Those are really, really interesting, and I feel like would matter matter a lot to you as someone that's a streamer. So I would check his stuff out. Um, But yeah, with that, let's talk about maybe get me up to date with like the kind of stuff that you're doing with your stream, maybe some goals that you have with your stream, and then going into how can we figure out how to get content onto a YouTube channel for you.
Yeah, so I'll give you the back. I'll give you the history and then kind of where I'm at today. I've been streaming for 3 years as of this past June.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly
Congrats,
League of
dude.
Legends up until hey, thanks man, appreciate it. It's been an interesting journey for sure, and I've been mostly streaming like League of Legends for the majority of those 3 years. It's been the main game. It's the game that I can stream consistently and I can burn out on. I always find like some type of content to put out there for folks. Uh, and then I dabble in a little bit of variety streaming here and there, but this year I've really leaned into variety. As I've hit that 3 year mark, I was like, you know what, I need to really try everything at this point. And if I want to play other games, I shouldn't be apprehensive about it because of it impacting my metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my metrics aren't like huge, like it does impact my metrics whenever I do play other games. So I think now is the time for me at this point where I'm already 3 years in and I haven't been able to get it to take off like I wanted it to.
Yeah.
So I think it's just I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know what, I don't mind anymore about the metrics taking a little hit if I'm gonna go play another game because it gives me an opportunity to jump into another genre that I enjoy and also meet folks that are interested in the same type of gaming that I'm enjoying. So I've done more variety streams this year than I have in the past 2 years combined, and that's where I'll play a different game almost every single day if I feel like it, or I may play League the entire time, the entire week. It just depends.
Mm-hmm.
And I've become a little less structured with the way I do things. So I'm extremely like structured with how I plan out my streams. Like I would plan out like a month at a time. I would look ahead of games that are coming out,
Wow.
plan around the games that are coming out. If I have an event, I would plan it out a month at a time and post those schedules on all my social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I would just make sure that people knew that. And then I've recently like changed up my schedule. My day off. I felt like it would be better to have Monday and Tuesdays off for my job because those are like the heavier work days for me. And I noticed that I'd have to like kind of shuffle my schedule around a lot of times. So I was like, you know what, let me just switch my days off from Tuesday Thursday to Monday Tuesday, and it gives me like a weekend if you will from streaming. So I'll have 2 straight days off, and then if I ever get a good rhythm going with the other content outside of streaming, it gives me 2 straight days to get that content out a week instead of breaking that content up over like every other day, so you can have 2 consistent days to work on that content that you're trying to put out there.
Mm-hmm.
um which leads me to where I'm at now is like I know I can do more, and I'm not willing to necessarily give up the streaming thing until I put everything into it and say, okay, I give it my best shot, and this is it, and I'm just doing this for fun now because I feel like I'm at that level where I'm at it's a hobby for me, but I know I can probably put a little bit more effort into it right
Sure.
now, and then let the chips fall where they may. But I know I've been lagging on the YouTube side of things, and like you said earlier about discoverability, Twitch is definitely not the best for discoverability. And I've seen multiple people, streamers that I know even, that have put YouTube content out there, and the YouTube content has actually really helped push their streams to a higher level with viewership and visibility and discoverability. Where he has a lot of folks coming over from the YouTube side to his streams, and they're consistently coming back to watch his content on Twitch, which helps boost his viewership, boost his numbers, and gets him. It just compounds the discoverability factor for him at a certain point. So um, we definitely have different experiences. We offer different things, but the approach he takes with the YouTube content and the way he consistently puts out his YouTube videos has helped drive his performance and expand his growth a lot faster than mine has. And I've noticed that. I was like, okay, that's definitely a huge missing piece for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting into consistent and better ways to like put content out on my other social media. So like the two other platforms that I use and are Instagram and Twitter. I don't really use Facebook, and I don't use YouTube at the moment. Um, Previously, I was putting out YouTube content with gaming news. Um, so I was doing like gaming news segments on my streams, and I would just hard upload those VODs to YouTube with very little editing done at all, if any. And then I was also doing at one point like a vlog about my experience on Twitch and kind of what I've gone through and things that I learned along the way. And then occasionally I would just do like clips and highlights of my stream, like different things that were going on with my stream. So I just put random things on there, but really inconsistent and kind of all over the place with what the type of information I was putting out there, and
Mhm.
there wasn't really any like cohesion with the content I was putting out there. So I know that it was kind of like just a Dropbox for all my stuff. And the same thing with like my social media too. Like I don't think like Instagram, I feel like you have to have a cohesive message when you're putting out stuff on Instagram, and I just kind of like throw whatever I want out there, which I know that's not the most effective way to grow on that platform.
Mhm.
And I think the only platform that I do okay on is Twitter. Twitter is like my only platform that I do okay on, because like I feel like Twitter is like kind of like you're speaking your mind on whatever situation, and you can kind of be um more random on that platform. I feel like otherwise it's like the other ones you have to be like a lot more direct with what you're trying to put out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I know I need to reevaluate my social media big time, and I'm trying to make a push to really maximize my effort with my stream, because everything I want everything to funnel back to the stream. I want folks to eventually like see my social media posts it, and then or my YouTube videos, and I want them to eventually come back and like, hey, I want to see this guy live. This guy's awesome, and that's kind of like the angle that I'm looking for.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. That was really extensive. I like that. Yeah, so I probably won't be able to say much on Instagram, but I think there's so much stuff on like resources on Instagram and even Twitter on if you just Google it on YouTube or just search it on YouTube stuff. So I think what we'll focus most on is probably Instagram video. Probably focus more on YouTube, but and I think figuring out Instagram and Twitter might be easier question mark to do. But yeah, so I
Yeah,
noticed
yeah.
your random access stuff was getting views. Like you had the one that has 900 or 491 views right now. Um episode 8.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good point, and I don't know why I stopped. I think it stopped because I just didn't have my schedule set up in a way that was effective for me. I was burning out with doing that and
Yeah.
streaming at the same time, and I agree. That's definitely something that was starting to pick up a little bit. Like I actually broke the 100 view mark on a couple of those videos. I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, this is actually not bad. It was all based on the game that I was covering. So the way I did that segment is I would cover the week's news and gaming, like all the different things that are going on. So it would be like, okay, there was a scandal with Riot Games with women being discriminated against, or women being harassed in the
Mhm.
workplace, or there was a strike with work conditions where they were forcing folks to do crunch and stuff like that, and we would just quickly discuss the highlights of the week for what was going on. And it was supposed to be like a really digestible like news segment for me, where we just cover the high level bullet points, and then we jump into like the game of the week, where I would talk about an upcoming game or a game in development that maybe wasn't really highlighted,
Mhm.
and discuss what that game is about, what the platform was, and all that stuff. So I would just post about those different games, different random games that people may have not heard about, just to get exposure to those games, and also, um, just talk about games that I was interested in.
Yeah. Did you like doing it though?
Yeah, yeah, I like it, and that's actually the angle that I'm gonna go for, like when putting more content back out there, because I feel like that's the most interesting thing to me. And if it's not interesting, obviously, then I don't want to do it, because then you're just gonna lose motivation. But I always like gaming news, gaming segments, and I also like highlighting like quote unquote indie games that may be coming out,
Yeah.
to help discover those games. And I know like each video is not gonna do the same based on the game, the type of game. Like for the Pantheon video, that was like my best video. It was obvious that Pantheon would blow up, because that game has a really big following, and it makes sense. And then like some of the other games like Planet Zoo that had a bigger following behind it, and Planetfall, those games had bigger followings, so those would actually get a little bit more views. So those videos definitely need a lot of polish. I was using PowerPoint to do a lot of the work on there, so it looked really kind of amateur. So I just got to clean that up a little bit.
Um that's interesting. Uh I think the polish is probably okay. I remember watching the first few. um yeah, I think the polish is fine. It's not like there's nothing offensive about it. So therefore, I think it's good enough. I think actually you require so much prep for this that it's probably hard to make it sustainable. Um, I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah,
Depends
because
on your time.
half of your time is spent like looking through like interesting topics to talk about, and then the
Mhm.
other half is like finding the game that you're interested in talking about that's actually gonna have enough content for you to cover
Yeah.
to speak about. So that's the research part component of it, which I don't mind that part. It's just finding the time to do it and being more efficient with my time.
hmm Yeah, and maybe as you, I mean, you've only done 9, 10 episodes, 11 episodes of this, so like, I feel like no one figures out what it actually is by 10 episodes, right? Like even like the podcast I just started, like I'm like every episode I feel like that I'm thinking of is so different from each other that like you're still figuring out the whole way to do it. But one thing that I really really like about this random access stuff is since you're covering, I don't know if you have the stream open or not. Um,
Yeah, I have it open.
yeah, so I have this thing called vidIQ, which I switched over from TubeBuddy to vidIQ. So I'm not really that familiar with vidIQ yet. But what happens is like when it has this functionality where you can see what the search volume is, right? So the search volume is not bad, and then the competition is super low. So most likely, if you cover Pantheon, you will most likely be discovered here, which is a really nice thing to do because what you want is the highest search volume possible, but then like no competition because then every time you put something up,
It's always gonna be discovered. Yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately I still don't see your video, but it could be because it's old or something. But so I think that's why that one did so much better, and I'm curious to see like what the analytics behind this video is too, like what the audience retention is, and if people like just skip to like they saw the first stuff they weren't interested and they only came for the Pantheon stuff, so they skipped to it or whatever. Um,
Got it. Got it. And that comes from the vidIQ the extension. You're able to
so
see it from there.
um,
I've never heard of that before actually, so this is cool.
yeah, so this is my channel. If I go through, actually, is this old enough? I think this is old enough. So if I go to the dashboard and I look at my analytics, I can see this audience retention graph. So what happens is that if I want to
You're trying to get a
click on
job in
this, oh, let's mute
This
that.
is what we're gonna talk
I can
about.
see like
How to get
this
a
is
job
everyone drops
in
off.
esports.
Everyone's videos drop off really drastically in the first like 30 seconds, right? But then I could see that eventually people kind of stayed, and every peak that I see means that someone either like copied and shared this at this timestamp, which that's probably not happening with me, and the peak's not that big. But most likely someone's actually just skipping through the video. Because if I skip through it with using the L or J key, which skips like 15 seconds, or I think it's 10 seconds, or the arrow keys, they skip through it. Every time I see like going down, that means people are leaving the video, and like a dip like this means that people are skipping through it, skipping over this part. And then the peak is people rewinding or sharing that video at that timestamp or clicking on that timestamp. Since especially I timestamp my videos a lot. This doesn't help too much because I don't have that many viewers. But for example, I don't know if I can show this or not, but like for Golden Guardians videos, like we looked at the Golden Age episodes, and I could literally figure out when different players are on the screen talking, if people are skipping or watching it or rewinding. So actually, one of the big conclusions I got from our docuseries is that every time there's like a really cool play that happens on screen from one of our games, people rewind and watch that play again. So when you have a lot of views on a video, you can actually figure out like what people are interested in or where people are looking and where people are getting bored. So like let's say you could find out, a lot of people found out when they put their intro stinger where it shows their logo for 10 seconds and they spent like all this money on Fiverr or like actually designed it themselves and they're so proud of it. But during those 10 seconds, they lose 20% of the audience because it's a really long logo and no one cares about it really. People realize, oh, I shouldn't have those anymore. Or if they put their hook at the beginning of the video or those like little teasers that people put of like their 40-minute video of TFT. They put like a 30-minute, like, this is the most amazing part. Like, people found success with that, seeing their audience retention graph staying a little longer to that point, or that kind of stuff. So I think you could probably figure some of that stuff out with your random access, like what people are actually interested in once you add timestamps to it, which when you add timestamps on YouTube now, um,
It gives you like the little bars, right? The new
yeah,
timestamps.
yeah. So you can actually see what people are skipping around to see. I
Oh, that's
think
pretty cool.
with longer form content, you see that more. Let me see if that happens with this podcast. Yeah, so with this podcast, you can see bigger peaks. This is most likely going to be where the timestamps are. That'd be my assumption.
Got it.
So, but yeah, with YouTube, the most important thing is the three things are like your content has to be good, but you could arguably say that your thumbnail and title are more important than your content, because no matter how good your content is, if no one wants to click on it because they don't know what the content's about or it doesn't sell them, they'll never click on it, right? If you have the most amazing product to sell on Amazon, like whatever it is, if no one decides to buy it because the price is too high or it's not advertised correctly or people don't know what this product is, like, no one will buy it. Um, Same thing with your videos. So I think it's really hard with talk shows or long form content exactly how you want to do your thumbnails, because there's so many things you're covering.
Yeah.
Um, but
Typically, I always stuck with the game that I was covering.
yeah, and I think that makes sense. I really do think that makes sense. And then what ends up happening, I think what you could do, one, it all depends on like what your YouTube goal is and what your channel goal is. But another thing you could do is, like, you see that this random access video got a lot of views. It's like, maybe I should start like really going hard on covering a lot more Pantheon like information. And then, maybe you actually love the game and suddenly your channel pivots to like, and your Twitch pivots to like a lot of Pantheon like streams and like highlights and news stuff. That is also a possibility that might happen. Um, an opposite thing that happens for me is the most successful videos I've done are these videos about podcasting, podcasting platforms. And it's really annoying because these are really old videos. I think they're really bad videos, and they're totally not what I'm trying to do right now. But I could have pivoted my channel to just talking about podcasting. That's not my goal, so I don't want to. But it's making
Yeah.
me think a
Yeah.
lot about, like, maybe I should do like every now and then a video catered towards esports. That's like how to start your esports podcast, because everyone likes it. A lot of people like making esports podcasts. But yeah, this is an example of the opposite, where like something I did gain traction and I don't want to do it. But it all depends
Yeah.
on your goals,
I,
right?
I think that's similar for me too, because I like that it got views, but I don't think that is. I don't want to be a singular game person. Like, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into like one singular like medium, and
Yeah,
that's where like I want to. I mean, I had to go subscribe to you, man. I didn't know. I didn't realize I was
that
subscribed.
was
So.
so loud.
So I just had to make, yeah, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I want to be known. I guess this goes into the other question I have too. I think this is all tied together. Is my branding. Like, what do I want to be known for? And I
Mhm.
think I want to be known for someone that loves gaming, but I'm not tied to one particular game, and someone who is interested in the actual like industry happenings, such as like, I don't know if you know Slasher on Twitter.
Yep.
Like, he's known for all breaking a lot of like
Sources,
hot
blah blah
takes
blah
and hot
blah.
news. Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to be a slasher. I don't want to be a guy that's breaking news first, but I do want to be like an opinion head on a lot of the stuff that's happening in the industry, and give my perspective and my take for someone who is very passionate about the industry, but not necessarily um, in the industry. I'm looking at it from a normal person's perspective, and then also trying to provide that information in a bite-sized, digestible format, because I know people don't have long attention spans. So, like, if I were to go back to making like those random access videos, like, they would have to be very, very concise, and I would ideally like to get them under 20 minutes, which would be which would take a lot of work. But if I can get those under 20 minutes, I think they would have more retention as well. Because
Yeah.
some of those are like 40 minutes long and 50 minutes long, and those are super, like if I were actually wanted to edit those and make them even more polished, that would take so much work to edit a 45-minute video.
Have you thought
So
of? Sorry, go ahead.
no, that's it. That's all I had.
Have you thought about splitting up these random access episodes into like 5 minute chunks?
Ooh, 5 minute, like 5 minute per segment.
Yeah, or
Uh,
as in like each episode is actually like 5 videos.
oh wow, I haven't even thought about that. That's actually pretty crazy.
So that's something that I thought about with podcasts, and I've tried experimenting with a very small YouTube channel. I don't even remember what it was because it was so long ago. Because that way each video can be target, like can have a different thumbnail, different title, and target different people, right? Because I think the hard thing about general news stuff that covers so many different topics is like, why is someone gonna watch you do it, right? If who would be okay? Let's just say Philip DeFranco, for instance, right? You know who he is, right?
Yeah, I know Phil DeFranco. I
Yeah.
know who he
So
is.
people know who he is, and they care about his opinion because they like him and they care about him and whatever. Even like, and I do he does like gaming stuff, but if he decided to do a gaming news, which actually he might have, I have no idea, but people will want to hear him and they'll hear him talk about a lot of different things, right? But someone like, if I'm looking at your channel, I wouldn't know who you are. Why would I listen to you talk about a whole bunch of different things when I might only care about one thing or two things that you talk about? And even though I care about you talking about Pantheon, like why would I care about your opinion on it or what you're gonna share, right? So
Oh, I see what you're saying.
those are
Yeah,
the
so
questions you need to answer.
so break up. I could say I could break this up into two different playlists. So you could have your game discovery playlist, and then you could have your gaming news segment playlist. Is that what you're saying? Like break it up that way?
Um, I don't know exactly what you mean by playlists, but
Well, I mean, like in your videos, like you said, you break up your videos into smaller sizes. I don't know how I can get to 5 minutes, but I could definitely break those videos in half at the very least between gaming news and gaming discovery, which is what the two combined things are.
gotcha. So then like, huh? Because you have to think about like, so if you're doing gaming news, I think the value proposition for me as an audience is that I'm going to watch this video because I'm going to be up to date on uh what do I want to be up to date with? And with your content, what is that? Is that like this Daddy Steve always tells me every single thing that Riot does under the sun, right? Or is it I want to get a broad overlook of everything that happened this week in gaming that's like interesting, or the most
Yeah,
like controversial
it's the
stuff.
second one. Yeah, it's the second option. Yeah, the broad look of everything that happened in gaming this week, so I kind of know what's going on in my gaming sphere.
Yeah. So then, what do people already do that? And if they do, why would I watch you over them?
That's a good question, and I think people do this or do and I double do, um, but I think the problem is it is too long, and even my form is too long,
Mhm.
and a lot of it's just like they upload their podcasts to YouTube, and they basically have like a 3 hour podcast on YouTube that people are probably not watching. So my goal, my angle with the whole thing is to compete with that by being as concise as possible. And I think your suggestion on breaking up the video is uh definitely impactful, because if you go to the beginning of the video, kind of I give an outline of what we're talking about because I'm so used to my corporate life that I have to do outline of what we're discussing and then get into it. So
Yeah.
if you scroll like to near the beginning, it literally it tells you kind of like what we're going through. I don't know if I have it on every one of them, but basically it's going to be you talk about gaming news, we talk about the game, then we talk about like upcoming conventions and then like events that are going on at the very end. So there's a lot of fat I can trim from this video, and there's a lot of stuff that I can go, yeah, upcoming game releases and then upcoming conventions at the end, and there's a lot of stuff that I can probably cut from here.
Yeah. So like, I think, see, for your Twitch audience, let's say, right, the people that know you, I think they would watch this stuff on. It makes sense on Twitch as like a show, right? But then if you're trying to get discovered on YouTube, like I'm not enticed as a random person that doesn't know you to click on the video, right? Because like, yeah, it's really tricky. And I think like Dweebazoid in chat, do you know who Jake Lucky is? By any chance?
I've never heard of
Esports
him before.
Talk, this
Yeah,
channel.
I've never heard of that person either.
Okay, so this guy grew really, I think, pretty quickly. But the crazy thing about him is he's like on the news 24/7, and he just uploads videos, and I don't think that's that's not sustainable for you probably, especially if you're working a job. But
Yeah,
he,
definitely not. I'm looking to drop like right now 1 video a week. If
yeah,
I could drop 1 video a week and keep that consistent for like 3 months straight, I'll call that a win.
yeah. I mean, look at this. Like one day ago, he uploaded 6 videos. So this guy's going crazy. But every single thing he does is really, really focused on like one thing, right? So it's really easy to sell, to find the person that's interested in TSM and chess and Hikaru in this one video. Like I know all those, like that is, if I'm interested in any of those things, I'll probably click on this video, right? But if this was combined with 5 other topics, then the thumbnail has to like, if you have too many things on a thumbnail, it's really hard to like convince someone that I want to watch this thing because it's confusing. And actually, I think a lot of his thumbnails are like way too busy actually, but they still at least tell one story. And maybe his, okay, maybe actually that might be a bad example. So I think like if I know who you are already and I've gained that like what they call know like and trust factors where I know you, I like you and I trust you, then you can just post a video and be like, "Hey, this is gaming news for this week." And then people will just always click on it because they want to know what you're talking about, and maybe the thumbnail is talking about the latest like crazy riot news or something. So you clickbait with that, but people will listen to all the other 4 subjects that you want to cover. But
Yeah,
then when they
that's actually really good advice. And that actually could make it to where I'm putting out 2 videos a week, which would be pretty cool.
yeah,
At least
and
because I'm breaking up what I'm already doing into 2. So
yeah,
I that's definitely a good experiment I want to try.
yeah, especially like with my channel, right? I turn on the stream for until 8:30 to 11, so that's what 2.5 hours. Um, I could upload, which I accidentally did. I didn't realize it, but like my stream just like uploads. But usually I don't do that. And what I do is I chop up the stream into like, oh, here's a resume review, and that's a video. Here is another resume review, which is a different video that releases like 3 weeks from now because I don't want to prioritize it, but I need to keep consistent or something. And then like I have my I and then like this one is how to get a job in esports, right? And those were all like in one stream, and I just chumped. It's all one show, and it makes sense for Twitch, or it makes sense for live streaming. It makes sense for like TV, right? Where you have like an outline, and this is what I'm gonna be doing like during the show for the next 3 hours. But then like on YouTube, am I am I going to come to YouTube? Which the answer might be yes for some people, but am I gonna come to YouTube to find a specific creator and watch his 3 hour long show, or am I gonna watch something for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 40 minutes about one specific thing, and then move on to another video to think about to watch another specific thing? So thinking about who your audience is, because I think you could have an amazing 2 hour video if the content's really really good and you get lucky with the algorithm, all those kind of things. But most likely the better way to market your stuff is to put it in bite-sized chunks, like kind of similar to what I have done, right? And you see 16 views on this stream, which probably covers some of the live views, which aren't that much anyway. But if I have something more focused where I can be like, if you want resume review, you can watch this video and just this video, and you know exactly what you're getting. More people are enticed to click on it, I guess.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense to me, and I see where I'm kind of misstepping a little bit with some of the content I've been putting out there.
Yeah. And again, like, and the hard thing about smaller creators is that you almost have to make stuff better than everyone else's, right? That's out there if you have competition. Which really sucks and is really hard. But that kind of is the truth of it if you want to stand out. So
Yeah, I have no SEO presence either.
and honestly with YouTube, I'll make it I think easier for you when it comes to SEO. it's not even like using the right keywords for the algorithm. I'm starting to not believe that. I honestly think that all you have to do for SEO, quote unquote SEO, is like figure out what your thumbnail and title is for people to click on it, right? Because what YouTube is going to do is they're going to, based off of your like description and some of the keywords, but people lie about the keywords all the time. Like that's why YouTube doesn't even look at tags really anymore, because everyone started putting PewDiePie in their tags like 5 years ago, and they're like, well, this is not PewDiePie. Everyone's just taking advantage of this tagging system. So YouTube's like, well, we'll ignore that from now on. Instead, YouTube's gonna look at your title and description for some keywords, and then they're gonna find people that watch your videos, and then they'd be like, how did they react to that? And then if they react positively to that, they're gonna be like, okay, let's spread this out to a little bigger base that seems to be interested in the same things the people that watch your videos are into. And then if they like it, then they're gonna continue putting out to more and more people. But if people are seeing the thumbnail and title, not clicking on it, then YouTube is like, oh, people don't care about this content. They're not interested in clicking on it. It doesn't keep people on our website and doesn't make us more money. So therefore, we're just gonna not show it to more people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
gaming with tags seems like it's becoming less important, because I know before when I was doing these, like tags are like super important,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So like the only SEO you really like 90% of your effort should be focused on is like, is your thumbnail clickable? And yeah, your thumbnail and title clickable, right? And that's
So
why like these videos,
yeah,
unless they're people that really want to see, like I want to see my rematch because I'm Joey Lowley, like then I'll click on this. But for everyone else, like who cares about this video,
yeah,
right?
and that's the other thing too. It's like a big dumping ground for random stuff that probably doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. And I've heard people say like bad videos hurt your channel, bad videos don't matter. I'm not really sure. I lie more on somewhere in the middle ground where like you want people to associate more for branding aspects. So like whenever I see a Daddy Steve video, I know I want to click on it, not like, oh, I know I want to click on maybe a quarter of his videos. Um but then I get trained to like ignore some of your videos.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it goes back to the branding thing too, because I want to switch from the Daddy Steve thing. I want to switch from like my community is known as a daycare, because I'm a dad and I'm like I'm more mature gamer, and you know
Mhm.
you have some folks coming in that are like a little bit more immature, a little more like toxic, and from the league community anyways,
Yeah.
and trying to like groom these people to like like not be so toxic to their community and not be so toxic in their game. So it's kind of like that fatherly guy that's kind of like giving the kids advice on how to like be a normal functioning human being, and not just be toxic and troll your teammates. So I thought that was good at the time, because I didn't really have a brand before that.
Mhm.
Uh, which again, if anybody's getting into streaming, get a damn brand before you start streaming, because it'll help you so much in the future, and get a brand that's going to last you long term, because as I play this brand out a little bit, I noticed that it doesn't have longevity for me.
Uh-huh.
And with recent events and issues within the League of Legends streaming community, with a bunch of like pedophilia accusations and things like that, the Daddy Steve moniker is definitely a lot more like yikes for me,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be associated with that. And then people come into my stream and they kind of like ask like sometimes questions like that, which makes it like kind of uncomfortable. I was like, yeah, I need to get away
Mhm.
from this this branding, because it's not working out for me. So
Unlucky, very unlucky.
yeah, it is, but and if I want people to take me seriously too, which I kind of do want people to take me seriously, I feel like the name is catchy and it's good to get people to like laugh at, but it's not necessarily like a serious name to go by either. So,
Yeah, you don't
um,
go to TwitchCon and shake hands and be like, "Hi, you can call me Daddy Steve."
yeah,
Feels a little
exactly,
weird.
exactly. I wanted a name with I wanted a username with my name in it, just so people know me.
Hmm.
Like like that's important for me. Is like I wanted Steve in my name, and I just couldn't find anything that would go with my name. So I think I went with the most like on the nose choice of Daddy,
Yeah.
because I'm a father. But it's definitely a thing that I'm in the works of doing, a complete rebrand with like my identity,
Hmm.
and hopefully that ties into like the gaming news segment, me, just talking more broadly about the industry and then having more mature conversations with the community. So kind of pivoting from what I've been doing is kind of not really putting a lot of forethought into the branding and the content I'm putting out, and then trying to have a concise message across the board. And I see with your content, you're the esports guy. You're the guy that helping people live their esports dream. And you've always been like that. Even when you were part of the Lolo podcast, you were even talking about that and wanting to be involved in esports and be heavily engaged in esports even back then. And that message has been consistent throughout your journey with content creation and what you do for a living. So I definitely need to get more consistency with my messaging and my branding. And I've a lot. This conversation definitely helped steer me in that direction.
Cool. That's it. Okay, cool. Um, the other concern I have with your content on YouTube is that um because you're focused on, I think we've only talked about the news stuff, which I think it's maybe an easier entryway, but you also like if you want to bring people to your stream, people come to your stream from your news stuff and they're not like watching more news information on your stream, right? It's like you playing games, maybe variety streaming, those kind of things. So I also think that we need to come up with some at least content direction for people to see your YouTube content and want that more of that content live on Twitch, right? And it's not like you're streaming 4 hours a day just news stuff. So a post-it note that I always have is the 5 type of content that this actually comes from, again, a Devin Nash video. It's, where is he? This video, how he got 700 million views. This is a guy named Jeremy B, more famously known as Gaming Curios, I think. Do you know who this is?
Nope. My YouTube knowledge is very weak.
So this guy is insane. He runs like 16, 12 plus YouTube channels. Oh man, this is not the right page. He runs all these YouTube channels and he makes a full-time income plus more and hires like, I don't know, a lot of editors and people to run all these channels. And he's making bank and he's very happy and very comfortable, right? He talks with Devin Nash in that one video that I talked about earlier. Let me find it again. This video, 700 million. And he breaks down, like, they just talk about YouTube for 4 hours. It's a really long video. I've actually watched it like multiple times, like in the background when I'm playing League, and sometimes just like staring at it for hours, just watching them talk. And I think I caught it live on Twitch, so I keep referring back to it. But he has, and then yeah, I would go to his main channel, which he kind of just started working on, which is like he puts random time to. He doesn't put that much effort. He's experimenting a little bit, but it's not his main focus because it doesn't make him money. Where yeah, I would watch his stuff, but then he talks about the 5 types of content that you can make from a stream to YouTube. Oh, I should also explain like what his YouTube channels are. They're pretty much his gaming channels where they upload like, oh my gosh, way too many tabs open. It's pretty much like one of those clipping channels. But he's able to figure out a formula to just like go crazy and make like views on everything, teach an editor how to do all this stuff, and to manage the channel, to do thumbnails. And they just keep doing just gameplay videos over and over again. So what he's figured out is these 5 types of content, which is 1 is epic content, 2 is legacy and historic content, 3 is highlights, 4 is long form, and then 5 is whatever the meta is, which right now it's react content. So this epic content is pretty much like takes a lot of time to create, but it's like really polished and probably aimed towards getting lots of views. So this might be like, for in esports, this is like a docu-series. right?
Got it. Got it.
Or it takes a lot of money. So like he does one where it's it's his Apex one, Apex Curios, where he dropped like $1,000 to open loot boxes, something like that. Um,
Oh,
he
I
does
see what you're
it.
saying. Very, very unique moments within a gaming space, or something that is not
Yeah,
like very common. Okay,
and
got it.
it just takes like it takes a lot of resources. So this could be like a very risky kind of thing, but this is like your big. You put a lot of investment, a lot of time, a lot of money, resources, whatever, into making like this very epic piece of content, right? So like for you, let's say for League of Legends, this might be like you making uh like a full year like really cinematic montage of all your amazing Zyra highlights because you think this is gonna like perform really well, and you put like you hired an editor and it's like 5 minutes of just amazing stuff, right? Probably not the right way to use your money and time, but maybe for a big like one trick LeBlanc streamer, maybe that's like a really good video to work on. Legacy stuff is pretty much the best moments that you've had or and things that have performed well in the past. This stuff is really good because you already know it does well. Like maybe these are like Twitch clips or YouTube videos that have done well, and then you just remake it or reskin it and show it again because people forget. So this has like a nostalgia factor. Um, this is kind of like those videos where people put like the top 10 Twitch clips I've had from 2019, right? Or you even go back like, oh, my first year streaming, like the best moments that were on stream or something, and then people are like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't even following you during that time, and these are like super hilarious, or really scuffed, or like those kind of things. So you already know these work, and then you're just resurfacing them because nostalgia.
Got
So
it. Okay.
highlights is pretty simple. These are just like good moments on stream, which you're kind of doing already. And it's kind of cool that even just this one, like, got a decent amount of views compared to like right. This one took a lot more time. Random Access episode 11 versus when Iron players try to tower dive a Bronze player, right? And it's 30 seconds, and it has almost the same amount of views. So I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but this is really simple stuff where people just highlight their stream. Um,
Let me ask you this, because
yeah.
like the other angle here too is, like you said, I'm trying to do gaming news and game discovery, but then I also want to tie it into the stream, and obviously I still do play League of Legends
Mm-hmm.
for a decent amount on my stream, so every week. So tying in League of Legends content obviously is important for that, to
Yeah.
draw in the people that are interested in both League of Legends and the gaming news in general. So I'm trying to hit that, that Venn diagram of them hitting both of those circles.
Yeah.
So would you suggest like including like stuff like these different types of content of League? Because I do, like, my biggest highlight for me is probably my community tournaments that I do,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it revolves around like 1v1 tournaments, League of Legends, and then I guess just like highlighting and editing those stream clips into like a very nice, like, polished, like, highlight video of those events. Would that be something that would be, you think, successful, instead of doing what I did like down below, where I would just like capture each individual match? Like, I could just do like a quick highlight of like some of the highlights of the tournament itself.
Yeah. I think it would do better, but I don't think it'll do whatever we want to objectively say or relatively say as well. Um, it would do better because anyone that's in your community is more likely to see the highlight reel, like the best moments of daycare duels, right? Um, but everyone outside of your community probably won't care, or maybe the highlight moments aren't that amazing because it's not like a challenger outplay, or maybe they are more amazing because you have bronze players playing against each other and something like just crazy happens that's like either funny or cringy or just like hilarious or whatever else. So that one's going to be hard because one, also the League of Legends space is super saturated on YouTube. So I think it would do better with your community. I just don't think it would be like your big idea that would get you on the map, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like as far as discoverability, you don't think it's necessarily going to lead to more discoverability?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's what I would say. Um,
Okay.
and that's
Okay.
the tricky thing too, because I feel like even if you make stream highlights, like what what is it about those highlights that as a random person that would rather watch I'm a cutie pie highlights or whatever else, like why would I watch yours, right? And that's gonna be part of the like the content
Yeah,
has to be have a good idea behind it, and then like the thumbnail and title have to be intriguing enough that like, oh, I want to watch this. And so what's the question mark? Why would I actually want to watch this?
yeah. My angle there would be that I throw like slightly polished tournament events where I actually wear like my suit jacket and I have like certain overlays that like help make it look like a quote unquote LCS broadcast, like a scuffed one.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a well organized format that we have. And to your point about high level gameplay, we do have like somewhat high level gameplay in it. It's not a bunch of bronzies and gold
Mm-hmm.
players running around, but yeah, I think I have something to work with there. I would like to experiment with that and see how that works. Because
Yeah.
I think if I could put together a well edited video, that might work out. Like a 5 minute just quick highlight of the tournament would make sense.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting one too, where this video would be almost for it wouldn't be like, hey, I'm trying to make this video go viral and get 1 million views, but it's like this is gonna get hopefully 50 views, and half of those people are gonna be people that have no idea who this community is and what your Twitch stream is. But like, even though it doesn't get a ton of views, it's gonna convert a lot of people to come join your community to be in the next tournament. Like, I think that's what the thing is. It's not to get a lot of views, but it's to get good conversion, right? Or
Yeah,
get
it's to
good
get those people
discoverability.
that are into that type of thing. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
because it's not going to be like a T1, like a Tyler one. What do you call it? TCS? Oh, I forget what he
Hey,
calls it.
my tournaments are actually not terrible. Like the only thing that T1 had on me was his transitions. His transitions were like super top notch, but his backgrounds were, I would say that we were equal on TCS, man. Because some of the stuff he did for TCS, I've been doing for my tournaments for years. I was like,
That's awesome.
this guy is actually doing some of the similar things. So
Yeah,
we're very close. Like I have an analyst desk that I sit behind on stream, and I do the whole get up, man.
yeah. So then I think what you have to think is like you have to think about the audience and like what is gonna pull someone in to watch someone that they don't know who this is and watch their tournament highlights, or why would I be interested, right? And I think production value isn't necessarily a good driving factor for it, but there's probably something there. And again, it's not going to go viral, but it's going to convert. So it's just like really thinking about like why would I click on this video, and that the thumbnail and title have to be enticing enough to click on it. And that's where like the clickbait comes in. And clickbait is like suddenly a term that's like very watered down now. It really doesn't mean like what it used to, where it's like I show PewDiePie's face because everyone wants to watch PewDiePie, and PewDiePie doesn't show up at all in the video. That's like bad clickbait, and that's what it used to be. Now it's something more positive, where it's like I'm I'm giving you something really enticing to click on. It's like a really good title and thumbnail uses good clickbait. That's like it's a very different term. So you just have to think about like what is your enticing thing that's gonna get people to click on this content. Like what's the question marks that you leave in their brain that's like I need answered because I have a lizard brain, and also like oh I want to see what happens in this because for some reason I'm interested in it. That's a
Yeah,
really tricky
I
part.
hear you. I definitely hear it. And I'm thinking of the thumbnails for my tournaments. They've always been bad, so I definitely want to work on that. And let me ask you real quick on the thumbnails for my like gaming segment. What could I do to make those better? Like I know you want to be like as very little wording as possible. Kind of put something to catch their attention, which is what I did with the cuts of me doing random poses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like what could I do to improve the thumbnails?
And did you say which of the content specifically did you say, or
The
just any
random
of it?
access thumbnails because they're the ones I took the most time on to actually put something out there with
Yeah.
decent thumbnails.
So I would say remove your face because okay, there's two thoughts about or three thoughts about the face. One is that if you're not a well-known person, no one cares who you are. So why would they click on it because of your face is in the thumbnail? Like that's what Devin Nash does. Like he used to put his thumbnails in a lot of his videos. Then he realized no one's coming to see me. People are coming to see what uh what the news is about Doc. or this something about Voyboy or TSM or Ludwig, right? So that's his thought.
Yeah.
That's one thought. Another thought is like people like to see faces because it's more personable. So that's the argument against it. And I forgot my third point. But the third point
Yeah.
is like if you have this real oh gosh, every time I hover over it, if you have the real estate of your face that could be used to get a different point across, then that might be more important. Just like a resume, right? If is the selling point, the strongest selling point, like your face, or is it Planet Zoo? So if Planet Zoo is, maybe you need to make Planet Zoo bigger, or maybe you could use another screenshot or different text to say something better about Planet Zoo than your face would, right? Um,
Yeah, that's definitely another thing I want to experiment with to see what the difference would be there. That's a good point.
yeah.
And to speak back to what you're saying about like the face, like I think leading with the faces definitely gives a personal connection with the viewer, so they know who's making the videos. But I'm already in the video, so it doesn't matter. And I mean, my face is already in the video. That's why I kept my face in the thumbnail, because when they click on it, they're gonna see me on the video as opposed to someone who may be talking about something or providing a clip
Mm-hmm.
and they're not in the video at all. So if I was not visibly in the video, then I probably wouldn't include my picture in there. But because I am, that's why I thought it was okay to include it there.
Yeah, and maybe even just like really deprioritizing yourself. Like if you think like you want your subscribers to know that it's your video, or you want to know that a person's talking and it's not just like the robot voice or whatever. Like you can do something where you did here, where it's like you're in the small corner, people know it's a person talking about it. They know it's you talking about it. They know like, oh, there's this like swole hottie over here that I want to like listen to, so like that your face is still in there or something. But just deprioritizing it, where like the main focus is Age of Wonders, Planetfall, or Pantheon. Or maybe if you have like a reaction where it's like Riot Games again in the limelight and you're like really frustrated, so you use that YouTube face, like maybe that's something that you want to do to show like an emotion related to it. Maybe that's a thought process behind it. But I would say to improve these thumbnails, let's look at episode 11. I'm gonna actually like just screenshot it so I can actually like hover over it because every time I hover over it, it like starts playing, and I can't even zoom in on this, so that sucks. But what this is telling me right now is nothing except this is something about Space Haven. Right? That's the only story that's being told. And then maybe if I can read this small thumbnail, I can see it's called Random Access Episode 11. So I know it's a series, but like I probably don't know what Random Access is. And I probably don't care it's episode 11. Right? And I think another thing you can be thinking about is if you want to grow, you're not actually making thumbnails for your subscribers. You're making thumbnails for people that have no idea who you are. Because your subscribers would click on it every time anyway. Theoretically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what I would say is, what is it about Space Haven? What is it about Space Haven that I want to know? What are you trying to tell me about Space Haven? What's the most interesting thing about Space Haven? And for me, like, because you're also covering like small indie games, like I have no idea if Space Haven is a game. Is it a game that I'm interested in? Is it a game that you're about to flame or that you're really excited about? At least you gave a thumbs up, so I guess I could, and I didn't even notice that initially. Like, so you're happy about Space Haven, right? So even thinking about the audience, maybe you are targeting people that know Space Haven, so you don't even have to say the name, and maybe the picture says that enough, and you're just giving your review that it's good. That's why the thumbs up. But so you need to tell a story with a thumbnail and give me a reason why to click on it. And usually you give like a good reason and then you leave a little intrigue in it. Like maybe it's why the news, no one knows why Space Haven was delayed, but you do, right? So I'm interested in Space Haven because I already know the game, because that's the audience you're targeting. But then what you're trying to get across is like you have some news that no one else has about it. And maybe people have that news anyway, but you're going to like, you need people to click on it, and then your content keeps them on it, right? And as long as you deliver in this, what you're clickbaiting, that's perfectly fair, and I think that's fair game. And people can't get upset with that. So I mean, do you remember what was maybe the most interesting thing about the Space Haven news?
Uh, yeah. See, that I think that goes back to the format of my videos. The general focus is just to give folks an overview of the type of game it is. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the most interesting thing here was that it was like an RTS space sim where you there's a number of different things you could do to like improve your survivability. You could build your own ship. I think building your own ship was like probably like the biggest takeaway there. Like you could design and build your own ship to travel the galaxy.
Yeah. So I don't know that this video is more so focused on a reason why you might be interested in Space Haven, I guess, right?
Yeah, that sounds
Um,
like a neat refinement in that piece.
yeah. So then, if you think that's the thing that whatever RTS audience or people that are looking for new indie games or whatever the audience is, you have to figure out what's going to make them click on it. So if let's say that's the audience you're trying to hit, I would say like, uh, why? I think the thing that you're trying to get across is, uh, the reason why Space Haven is like going to be your favorite RTS game if you're an RTS fan, or like a new take, a fresh take on RTS for all the people that are tired of StarCraft or something like that, right? So then, if that's the feel you want to get across, what is that in the thumbnail and title? And the thumbnail could be like, um, I don't know if this is a good idea, but just spitballing off the top of my head, maybe it's like, the maybe the text is the best RTS, and then the title is like the reason why or something like that, just more fleshed out, and then maybe there's like uh an easy mechanic that you can kind of like cover up black with a question, like maybe a ship that has a big question mark on it and you don't know what it is. So I need to know what the ship is, or like maybe it's like something about the HUD or a mechanic that's in the game that somehow you can visually highlight and like put intrigue to. And then suddenly like I need to know like, why is Space Haven, what is this specific mechanic about Space Haven that's gonna like be a game changer and be the reason why I want to play this game. And then you're going to talk about your news, you're going to eventually get to Space Haven, you're going to explain this exciting new concept, and then I'm like, oh, okay, cool, like now I want to buy Space Haven or something. So I think that's how an audience would see that and go through that thought process of watching the video. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that yeah, I'm really rethinking my format for this in general, and that definitely is making me kind of like want to go back and blow up the whole process and rewrite it, redesign the how I want to relay this information. And I think that'll help me with these thumbnails as well.
Yeah, and I think the biggest, if you're able to do this, this would change everything, which is if you're able to know what the title, if you can come up with a title and thumbnail that you know like, oh, this is really intriguing before you even come up with the content, then that helps you so much. And that's like Mr. Beast, that's how he does his videos. He's like, "Oh, if we bought a car with only pennies, would people click on that?" I think so. Okay, let's make a video around revolving around that whole idea, right? And then they're like, oh, you know, we want to make a video about buying a house or something, but we can't think of a good title and thumbnail. Then they're like, oh, you know what? We're going to scrap that idea because it's just not intriguing enough for people to click on. So people that are really successful on YouTube, I say, um, know why people would click on, like what idea people would click on, what concept people would click on. And if they can figure out that title and thumbnail already from the start, then suddenly you even know like how to shape that content better. Which when you're thinking about blowing this project up and rebuilding it, I think that's one thing that would be really helpful to think about, but is so hard for people to do. It's so hard for people to do. And even like with our content team with our Golden Guardians docuseries, we think a lot about that where we're just I try to push that a lot. Like, hey, why would someone click on this video? Like, what is the story you're gonna tell? And usually it's really hard because we're like, oh, we don't know the story we're gonna tell yet. And docuseries are very reactive to like what's happening in the scene. Um, but that also helps like once we've prod and poke about like what ideas and what information we have from the interviews, I start thinking about the thumbnails and titles like, and that can shape the edit. Like, hey, we need to really show that like DeMonte broke his headphones. So that's like something the title and thumbnail. And then we can edit the video around that concept potentially. That's something that we didn't end up doing for the video, but um, having that thought process about thinking the title and thumbnail first really, really can be the strategic way to like do your content and grow your following on YouTube.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So start with the thumbnail in mind, and then and kind of branch out and work your content around that. So that makes sense. Thumbnail, title.
Because again, if you
Work.
don't have a thumbnail or title that worth clicking on, then people aren't gonna even see the content, even if the content is really, really good.
Let me answer this, because I originally I had put like random access, a gaming news segment in my title. Not my title of the video, but on the thumbnail itself, to
Yeah.
let people know that it was a gaming news segment, because I know they weren't going to understand what random access was. But I eventually dropped that in later thumbnails because it was just too wordy. Um, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on like being really like direct with what type of content it is, or do you feel like there's an easier way to kind of display that information?
I mean, if pictures say 1,000 words, so if you're able to do a picture, that's amazing. Sometimes it's just like being more direct and saying it on the text, like using text to say it works too. I mean, I think I try to get like fancy with my thumbnails a little bit, and then I see like other people that do resume reviews and like what ranks on search, and it's people just putting like resume review, resume like they put the text right on there so people know exactly what they're getting, and I think that works. Um, it depends on your audience. It depends on yeah. I think it really depends on like the value that you're trying to give, right? And I think, for example, when I do resume reviews, people are searching for resume reviews and looking exactly for that. So if the video shows that this is exactly what I need, then that works, right? For something like yours, if people are looking to uh if people are looking for a game review, then if your title and thumbnail just say like isn't sells them that this is exactly what they need to know about the game for the review, then that works. That's exactly what you want to do. So you saying random access on the thumbnail probably doesn't help non-subscribers. It probably doesn't
Yeah.
help. Yeah. Putting an episode number doesn't help people that don't know your content. Putting the game name helps. Putting screenshots of the game helps. If you say just game review of Space Haven as a thumbnail and it's just like no picture and just text, that could also work too for someone that's needs
Like
the
game
Space Haven.
overview, because it's a little more of an overview. So yeah, I can say like game overview.
Yeah, and that could work. That's a little less intriguing though, right? If you even if it is a game overview, like what is the value I'm going to get from that game overview? Like to make the decision to buy it or not? And I think like there's a channel that says I think it's called Before You Buy that does game like reviews. Yeah, this guy Before You Buy. You exactly he's catering his videos. The branding of the videos or his channel is like, I want to buy a game, but this is everything I need to know before I buy the game, right? And that's literally just a game review like everyone else's, but that's a message he's coming across, hidden behind like, this is actually a game review. So I think if you're able to do that with your channel, like,
Have you heard of Total Biscuit? Because that's another guy like I kind of used to follow on YouTube, and he did the WTF is series where um he would highlight games that maybe people weren't aware of, or kind of like not understanding what it was. I know RIP Total Biscuit, but he had a WTF series, and his thumbnail was like the same every time. I mean, he was already an established YouTuber at that time, so I guess he can get away with it. But he would he yeah. So the WTF is those are literally like discovery type of like YouTube content, and there's not even any like these are maybe the thumbnails aren't the greatest, but he was putting in I don't know. Gosh, I don't know why I can't formulate a thought right now. But he was discovering new games for people. So like he would bring up games that maybe were obscure or maybe were mainline, and he was like raising awareness with those games.
Yeah, yeah. So I think like um, it's really tricky to follow big YouTubers because even the meta for big YouTubers is totally different because they're just literally trying to get you to click on it. It doesn't matter, and because they're doing homepage, they're trying to get stuff from the homepage, while you'll probably be trying to get people from search initially.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but I still do think like what I haven't watched any of Total Biscuit's content. I know who he is, and even these thumbnails, like the feeling I get is like there's something that's like crazy about this game, and he's about to tell me like um what that is, right? That's how the thumbnail feels. So that's why like if I'm interested in Road to Redemption, I might actually click on this because it's just so aggressive, like WTF, right? So
yeah.
I think
He
it
was
still
known
works.
he was known for being bitter and tearing down games. So yeah, that's exactly the feeling he's going for.
Yeah. So figuring out what yours is, what the messaging you want to come across for your videos is going to be tricky. And that also might show a hole in your content where it's like, oh, mine is, I don't know if it is, but let's just say it's like, oh, mine is just like very informative, bland. Like, this is everything about the game that you should know. Like, maybe that's a problem. Or maybe that works and you just like double down on it being very informative, suit and tie, like uh PowerPoint presentation, and maybe that works too. Um, but that's where I think you might need to do some market research to see like what are people doing in this kind of genre that you're trying to hit, and what you could either provide that's super unique, or something that you could be like much better at everyone else in the same competition market, or like what's it like to be the number 3 most popular person on this kind of thing, and is that okay too? um that might be okay. You don't always have to be number 1 in everything you do to like be successful, depending on what your metric of success is. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And I have a day job, so I'm not looking to be like the next YouTube sensation here. I'm just
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to help with the discoverability on my Twitch. That's the objective at the end of the day, is just
Hmm.
adding additional discoverability tools to drive my Twitch audience to higher numbers.
Yeah, and I think the hard thing about that too is like there needs to be a lot of effort put into YouTube, right? So it's finding your balance in that, because yeah, you're not going to be the number 1 YouTuber if you're not going to be able to put that time, and that's perfectly fine. But figuring out what would be realistic then, which I don't really know what that will be either. But I
Yeah.
I have to get going soon, but I want to finish this, at least this list for you. Um, yeah, with the highlights moments, that's again going to be really tricky with how you're going to do that with your League of Legends gameplay content, and also just doing videos that are like stream highlight might be really tricky because everyone labels that, and that doesn't really say much. But if you're able to be like, I really like this title, when Iron players try to dive Bronze player, like that. There's so much behind that it's like I'm gonna see something fail, or I'm gonna see both sides fail, and like I don't know, and I kind of want to watch it. And it's short, so it's not even a much of a commitment. This one, Dead by Daylight highlight. I'm so noob. Um, that works if you're like Ludwig or some big streamer, but like, why would I click on that if I don't know who you are? Like maybe it's like the the dumbest mistake that I don't like know, so dumb that even noobs haven't made this mistake, or something. I don't know what that is. 200 IQ Dead by Daylight outplay is kind of interesting too, but it's still hard to click on. I think I really like this one, but yeah, um, we can talk about that later at some time. Long form content is like discussions or VODs. I think this is also like what your random access is. That's exactly what that is. That is. Um, and then again, the meta. This is just uh what a lot of people are doing.
Oh yeah, the React videos. You pull up other people's content and you kind of react to it throughout,
Yeah.
commentate on it.
Yeah. So I mean, like, This is something that if you wanted to do React videos, I should put Meta currently React videos. I mean, like, I think tier lists were a Meta thing too for a bit when everyone was like rating streamers and it was like kind of toxic.
Yeah,
But
streamers or other things like they even got to Disney movies and stuff like that. So yeah.
yeah, so then like even if you put a tier list section in random access of all the games that are being released in this month or this week or something, that could be something. Yeah, because people are like excited about that content and looking for that kind of content. I think another thing, like if you decide to do a React, if it was like reacting to all like the top 5 plays of daycare duels, that might actually be something interesting. And then what you can title is like reacting to, or tournament organizer reacting to bronze plays or something like that, you know, to make it a little more non-subscriber friendly. Reacting to a trailer during random access could be something you could do. But yeah, it doesn't only have to be a React, but I think that's currently like the big meta that's going on. But
Okay, got it. Yeah, that meta's been going on for a while for YouTube. So yeah, I'm definitely familiar with that format.
yeah,
Check it out.
and then whatever the new format is today, tomorrow, this week, next week, like just being aware of what's going on and riding that hype train. Like you see that with like, you know, TikTok challenges. You know, a new TikTok challenge comes out and then everyone on TikTok is trying it, or like, you know, some hashtag on Twitter, or like, you know, taking advantage of those things is also helpful, especially if you're early on it. But yeah, it ultimately says people like this content and want that content. So
Yeah, man. You
yeah.
gave me a lot of content here. If you don't mind, I could quickly recap what we went through because I know we went through a lot here.
Yeah,
But
go
you
for
gave
it.
me some good resources on YouTube to go to, like Devin Nash. There was the vid IQ. Like I had no idea that even existed, so that was really cool. And then just like the esports talk channel, and then there was the guy that had like 19 YouTube channels to various degrees. So I think I just need to do a little bit more homework on some of the YouTube channels that I want to kind of emulate, or some of the format of video that I want to put out there, and kind of to see how the successful people are doing it, and try to see what I can get inspiration from to create the content I'm trying to go for. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that I have from our conversation today is really just breaking up my content that I already have that had existing into separate pieces. So I think that's huge. I think I could definitely get more out of that. So thanks. It was freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, no problem. I will also say some YouTuber people that talk about YouTube, that are not in like the esports space or gaming space really, are video influencers, video creators, and think media. I don't know if they're the best, but they're people that I every now and then tune into the content or watch a lot of their content. So check those guys out too if you want to figure out like how YouTube kind of stuff works. Um, but yeah, thanks for talking, Steve. Hopefully it was helpful.
It's very, very helpful. Thank you, and
Awesome.
it gives me a lot to mull over. So I have a lot of homework to do this weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Totally hit me up with more questions and stuff. Yeah, I mean, you have my Twitter and Discord, so we can like continue chatting at some other time.
Yeah, let me go cook some stuff up in the lab first, and then I'll see if I'll get your opinion on it once I have a fleshed out plan. So definitely will.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll talk to you later, Steve.
Thanks, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.